Welcome to a world where the ancient secrets of the Bible come to life and the mysteries of creation are unveiled. Close your eyes and imagine a time before time itself, before Eden, before the first breath of man. There was no earth, no sky, just an eternal silence. And then suddenly the sons of God. Who were these enigmatic beings who witnessed the birth of everything? Why are they only whispered about, their names hidden between the lines of Scripture? If Adam was truly the first man, how could they already exist? What if the story of creation you've always known is only the surface of something much deeper, something deliberately concealed? Could there have been a divine order, a secret creation before Adam, one that was lost, even erased? Today, we embark on an extraordinary journey to unravel this mystery, buried beneath centuries of silence and veiled in forbidden texts. What if the sons of God were part of a creation that predates all that we understand? What if the answers to questions you've never asked were waiting right here? Are you ready to dive deeper into this divine mystery? If so, comments Evan77 and let us know you're ready to uncover the truth. Stay tuned, because what comes next will shake your very understanding of creation. This is not just history, it's the beginning of a revelation that will change everything. Let's begin. The sons of God, a hidden creation. Mystery before Adam. The Bible opens not with chaos, but with glory. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. These words echo through time with divine authority, setting the stage for a creation filled with order, purpose, and wonder. But if you look closer, beneath the poetic cadence of Genesis, a deeper whisper calls out from an older corner of Scripture, a place where the story begins before the beginning. In the book of Job, widely believed to be the oldest written text in the Bible, God himself poses a question that shakes the foundation of what we think we know. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Job 38, 4-7. Pause. Let that image settle in your spirit. The earth had not yet taken form. Darkness had not yet been separated from light. Adam had not yet been formed from dust. And yet, they were there, singing, shouting, rejoicing. Who were these witnesses to creation? Have you ever wondered how it's possible for joy to erupt in heaven before the first man was even shaped? Who were these sons of God, whose celebration echoed before the world existed? The Hebrew text calls them Bene Elohim, not metaphorical phrases, not poetic illusions, but beings of divine essence, not human, not angels in the traditional sense, something other. Genesis walks us step by step through the crafting of creation, from the void to the stars to the sea. But Job throws open a hidden curtain, a glimpse into a pre-Adamic world. Could it be that Genesis is telling the story of the earth, but not the beginning of all creation? What if there was an earlier chapter, one almost completely erased? Imagine yourself standing at the edge of that first moment. No sun, no soil, no breath of Adam, just the song of stars and the thunderous joy of celestial beings watching God's hand stretch across eternity. What would it feel like to be among them, watching the universe unfold? Could you handle the truth of what existed before humanity? And why? Why does Genesis remain nearly silent about them? Could it be that these sons of God were not merely bystanders, but participants in an ancient divine order, an original realm of intelligent beings assigned to purposes we can barely comprehend? Some ancient writings, cast aside over centuries for being too dangerous, speak of them not as myths, but as the first creation, a creation before Adam, a creation that fell or was hidden. And now we begin to step into sacred mystery, into territory the Bible hints at, but does not fully explain, into realms only the bold dare to question. What if the true beginning didn't start with man, but with something older, something eternal, and something God once chose to conceal? Among the scrolls of forgotten wisdom and ancient awe, there lies a book once held in high esteem by early Jewish sects, the Book of Enoch. Though excluded from the modern biblical canon, its pages burn with revelations that unsettle even the firmest theological foundations. This is not myth. This is the account of beings known as the Watchers, celestial guardians originally commissioned not to rule, but to observe. Yet they did far more than watch. They crossed a line drawn by God himself. These divine beings, described as sons of God, descended to the earth. Not in rebellion at first, but with curiosity and intention. They shared sacred knowledge with mankind, unlocking secrets of metalwork, enchantment, astrology, and seduction. Knowledge that was never theirs to give. What was their motivation? Compassion, pride, or a desire to reshape creation in their own image? And here lies the first tremor of the fall, not on earth, but in the heavens. Genesis 6 whispers of these beings again, briefly and cryptically. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took them as wives. Genesis 6:2. But Enoch shows us the full descent, both literal and spiritual, of these once holy ones. They weren't rebellious strangers. They were part of a divine hierarchy, an ancient order with power, purpose, and presence that predates Adam himself. Have you ever paused to ask, what kind of being would abandon heaven to mingle with man? What could be so tempting that they would risk divine wrath? And if they truly shared forbidden wisdom, what price did humanity unknowingly pay? Then came the punishment, swift and eternal. The Watchers were bound in darkness, cast into a prison not made of stone, but of spiritual chains forged by judgment. Their story is not just about disobedience, it's about origin, about an ancient glory shattered. The mystery doesn't end there. With the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, hidden in desert caves for nearly 2,000 years, another piece of the forgotten puzzle was revealed. These ancient texts speak of cosmic chaos, failed creations, battles between realms of light and shadow, and a war not of nations, but of realities. All this before a single human had ever taken a breath. Could it be that Adam wasn't the beginning, but the reset? Imagine that. You were taught that Adam was the first. But what if he was the correction, a divine restart after the collapse of something far older, far more powerful, and far more dangerous? If so, then we must ask not simply why the sons of God fell, but what were they before they fell? What was their true design, their original glory? Because maybe what we call creation is not the beginning at all. Maybe it's a recovery from a catastrophic spiritual collapse that rewrote heaven's order and forced God to begin again, this time with dust, breath, and a new kind of being. And if that's true, where does that leave you? There is a haunting silence that echoes through the scriptures, a silence that speaks as loudly as the written word. When the sons of God appear in the pages of the Bible, they do so with no introduction, no genealogy, no explanation. One moment the foundations of the earth are being laid. The next, they are already there, shouting for joy. Who were they? Where did they come from? And why does the Bible seem to avoid telling us more? They appear in Job rejoicing, in Genesis descending, but their origin is hidden. To understand their identity, we must journey beyond surface readings, beyond chapter and verse, and peer into the ancient intersections of scripture, mythology, and the esoteric traditions that early rabbis and Christian fathers both revered and feared. One prevailing belief held by ancient Jewish sages and early Christian scholars was that these sons of God were angels, but not in the way modern theology imagines them. Not winged beings playing harps, not mere messengers flitting through clouds. These were of a higher rank, governors, watchers, princes, beings who stood not just before God's throne, but within his divine council. Have you ever heard of Psalm 82? It paints a shocking picture. God stands in the divine assembly. He renders judgment among the gods. Psalm 82 verse 1. Who are these gods? Could this be the assembly of the sons of God, the celestial court? And in Daniel we glimpse their authority again. Princes set over entire nations, beings tasked not with delivering messages, but with governing destinies. But if these were angels, then why didn't they behave like them? True angels are messengers, servants, obedient to every command of the Most High. And yet the sons of God, as described in the book of Enoch and whispered about in Genesis, chose. They acted not as heavenly servants, but as beings with dangerous agency. They crossed lines forbidden. They stepped from the realm of the eternal into the realm of the fallen. They shared knowledge. They took wives. They created hybrids. They moved with intent, not obedience. So now ask yourself, if these beings had free will, authority, and power, were they truly angels, or were they something more, something closer to rulers than servants? Could it be that their original function wasn't to relay messages, but to govern creation itself? And if they once ruled, then what did they lose when they fell? Imagine standing in their place, holding ancient knowledge, beholding the forming of worlds, walking the halls of heaven, and then losing it all because of one decision, one crossing, one descent. Would you have chosen differently? Or would curiosity and compassion for the human story unfolding below have drawn you down too? This is where the mystery tightens, not just around what they did, but why. And in understanding their fall, we may just uncover a forgotten chapter of your own rise. But as the veil lifts further, we come to a second theory, one even more arcane, even more daring in its implications. What if the sons of God were not angels at all? What if they were souls, not human, not divine in the traditional sense, but pre-existent sparks of consciousness, primordial echoes of God's breath that existed before the foundations of the world were ever laid? Jewish mysticism, particularly the ancient teachings of the Kabbalah, speaks of such entities. In these sacred mysteries, we find the idea of souls not born from dust, but flowing from divine emanations, sephirot, ripples from the infinite light, the Ein Sof. These were not created in time, but before time, not made of matter, but of divine essence. Some of these luminous souls remained in the upper realms. Others, they fell. They were exiled. They were scattered like shattered glass, fragments of glory descending into the broken vessel of creation. Can you feel the weight of that possibility? That before the world was shaped and filled, before even Adam drew breath, there were already souls, watching, choosing, falling. Does this echo in your spirit? The prophet Jeremiah records God's words, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." Jeremiah 1:5. It's a verse often quoted but seldom questioned. Was God merely expressing foreknowledge, or was he unveiling a forgotten truth, that your essence may have existed long before your body ever did? What if that was not poetry, but memory? According to some mystical traditions, Adam was not the first creation, but the correction, the tikkun, a divine repair for a cosmos that had already cracked. The world we know, the human race as we understand it, may have been God's second movement, not a beginning, but a response. In this telling, the sons of God were not heavenly messengers nor rebellious angels. They were souls, ancient and radiant, souls once clothed in light, now hidden in flesh, or swallowed by shadow. Could it be that some walk among us even now, not knowing who they once were? Could you be one of them? Have you ever felt like you didn't belong to this world? like your soul remembers something your mind cannot recall? What if your very existence is a clue that you were once a part of something eternal, something that broke, and now something called to rise? This theory does more than explain the sons of God. It redefines the human story. It suggests that you are not just a body learning to become spirit, but a spirit learning to remember. And in that remembering, the veil begins to tear. But not fully, not yet. For to uncover what was lost before time, we must go deeper still. But for those willing to peer even deeper into the hidden layers of Scripture, a third theory emerges. One so bold, it challenges the very structure of the Genesis account itself. It is known as the gap theory. And once you hear it, you may never read the first chapter of the Bible the same way again. Genesis 1:1 declares with majesty, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." But then the next verse takes a strange turn. "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." Genesis 1:2. To the casual reader, it appears seamless. But the Hebrew beneath the surface tells a more cryptic story. The word translated as was in this verse, haya, can also mean became, a shift, a transformation, a fall. So ask yourself, what if the earth did not begin as formless and void, but became that way? Could something cataclysmic have occurred between the first and second verses of Genesis? A divine rupture that left a once beautiful world in ruins. A world judged, erased, and buried beneath cosmic silence. This isn't just speculation. Echoes of this forgotten world resound across the myths and memories of ancient civilizations. In the epic tales of Mesopotamia, divine beings are said to have crafted realms, only to watch them spiral into chaos. The Egyptians too told stories of the Isim, a divine order that perished in fire and judgment. These stories, separated by geography and culture, share a chilling pattern: a first creation lost in destruction. Could the sons of God have been rulers or caretakers of that forgotten world? A world older than Adam, structured, spiritual, possibly radiant, but one that fell so deeply into rebellion or ruin that it had to be wiped clean. Imagine a world crafted in beauty, led by beings of divine intelligence. Imagine watching that world collapse. If you were one of them, one of the sons of God, would you remember? Would the grief of that fall echo in your very being? What if the chaos of Genesis 1:2 isn't the beginning of creation, but the aftermath of divine judgment? This would make Adam not the first man, but the first of a new beginning, a spiritual reboot, a holy restoration project after an unspeakable fall. And if that's true, then what was lost before Adam? Who remembers it? And why does Scripture veil it in silence? Could it be that the very reason God formed man from dust instead of light was because something of light had already fallen? And if you, even now, feel drawn to mysteries that seem older than time, if your soul feels the pull of forgotten realms, strange dreams, or inexplicable yearnings, you must ask, are you part of the recovery, or do you carry a memory of what came before? If the sons of God truly were remnants of a reality before Adam, whether angels of high rank, ancient souls born before time, or divine beings from a world now lost to silence, then their descent was not merely an act of rebellion, it was a rupture, a violation not just of a rule, but of the very fabric of divine law that once held creation in perfect balance. The Book of Enoch names them clearly, the Watchers, beings appointed not to intervene but to observe. They were stationed at the edge of the human story, guardians of order, never meant to touch the timeline. But then something changed. Was it desire? Was it curiosity? Or perhaps was it pity? Did they see humanity, vulnerable and new, and feel the pull to intervene? Whatever the reason, the moment they descended, they did so knowingly. And they did not come empty-handed. They brought knowledge, forbidden knowledge, divine technologies that were never meant for mortal hands. According to Enoch, these watchers taught humanity the art of war, how to forge swords and shields, how to dominate through steel and strategy. They revealed secrets of metallurgy, enchantments, and celestial movements. They taught women the use of cosmetics, and men the secrets of roots and herbs, not for healing, but for manipulation. And with that, divination was born. It was a premature awakening, a floodlight cast upon minds still flickering in the dawn of conscience. Power without purity, wisdom without worship, knowledge before moral foundation, and like a spark in dry brush, it ignited chaos. Have you ever wondered why some things feel too powerful for human hands? Why some knowledge, though fascinating, feels like it carries a cost? Perhaps it's because not all wisdom was meant to be uncovered in this realm. Perhaps some doors were never meant to open. The Sefer Harazim, an ancient Jewish mystical text, describes angelic hierarchies who act as gatekeepers, guarding sacred knowledge that only God may permit to be accessed. But the Watchers defied that order. They bypassed heaven's protocols and handed humanity keys to secrets we were not ready to hold. And the result? Not awakening, not enlightenment, but contamination. Mystics have long warned that what happened in that moment wasn't the gift of progress. It was the tearing of a divine veil, a cosmic breach. The gates of heaven, once tightly sealed by holiness, were flung open, not by divine timing, but by celestial rebellion. And the ripple was felt through every layer of creation. The balance between heaven and earth tilted. What had been in harmony was now exposed to infection. From this chaos emerged the Nephilim, hybrids of heaven and earth, born from the union of the sons of God and the daughters of men. But it wasn't their size or strength that caused fear in the heavenly realms. It was their inheritance. Because the Nephilim did not just inherit blood, they inherited knowledge. Knowledge that could mimic creation, bend nature, usurp order, and with every generation that knowledge spread, deepening the fracture between what was divine and what had become other. So now you must ask yourself, was it mercy or justice that brought the flood? And more importantly, have the gates truly closed? Or have they remained open, silently influencing our world to this very day? Whispers from the forgotten corners of ancient Gnostic texts offer a chilling twist to this tale. They suggest that the greatest threat was not the rebellion of the sons of God itself, but what that rebellion enabled. The true danger, they say, was the rise of man, not in strength, but in knowledge, in awareness, in divine imitation. What if the fear was not that humanity would fall, but that we would rise too fast, just like Prometheus in Greek mythology, who stole fire from the gods and gifted it to mankind, an act of love that led to eternal punishment. The sons of God offered humanity a forbidden flame, a divine spark torn from the heavens and handed to fragile hands not yet ready to wield it. And with it came fire. Not warmth, not light, but reckoning. Kabbalistic tradition sees this moment not merely as sin, but as a cosmic rupture, a violent disruption in the divine flow of creation. They call it the shattering of the vessels, or Shevirat HaKelim. In this view, creation was not just a clean progression from light to life. It involved explosions, failures, a breaking between order and chaos. The descent of the sons of God was one such breaking point, where too much divine power entered a world too unprepared to hold it. So the divine response was not simple wrath, it was containment. The Watchers, once radiant beings of high authority, were imprisoned, cast into the abyss, bound in darkness, their names struck from the records of heaven. Like radioactive matter sealed beneath the earth, their influence was buried, but not neutralized. because knowledge, once shared, cannot be erased. You may bury a scroll, but its words live on. You may bind a being, but not the memory of its power. And so, though the watchers were confined, the fire they gave still burns, flickering in shadows, hiding in symbols, waiting to be uncovered. Have you ever felt drawn to truths the world says you shouldn't ask about? Have you felt a strange familiarity with ancient myths, symbols, or secrets you've never been taught? Perhaps it is because that knowledge never truly died. Some say it survived the flood, etched into stone, woven into oral traditions, encoded in mythologies that span continents. Some believe it was preserved by those who walk among us still, hidden ones, descendants of ancient wisdom, keepers of a flame too dangerous to ignite and too powerful to forget. And so we're left with a final unsettling truth. The rebellion of the sons of God was not merely disobedience, it was a transference, a handoff of heavenly tools into human history. The question now is not whether it happened, but what part of it still lives on, in you. The knowledge that the sons of God unleashed upon the earth spiraled far beyond what was intended, if intention even remained. What began as forbidden instruction became a wildfire of accelerated advancement. Humanity, once innocent and dependent, was now charging forward, guided not by divine timing, but by the hands of beings who had no right to interfere. And then came the verdict. But it wasn't simply a punishment, it was a reset. Scripture records it in heartbreaking simplicity. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually, and it grieved him at his heart. Genesis 6:5-6. These are not the words of a wrathful tyrant, they are the tears of a creator mourning the corruption of something once pure. But what if there's more? What if the Great Flood was not only a divine cleansing, but also a historical erasure, a cover-up of cosmic proportions, the removal not just of wickedness but of memory itself, of knowledge that could not be allowed to persist? According to the Book of Jubilees, once cherished by ancient Jewish communities, the corruption of the Watchers extended to every realm. Their influence, spiritual, intellectual, biological, had saturated the earth. The Nephilim, their giant hybrid offspring, ruled the land, not just with brute force but with inherited knowledge, technologies and secrets that reshaped human civilization itself. What if their rise wasn't myth, but memory? What if the flood was more than a natural disaster? What if it was a cosmic sterilization, a divine attempt to scrub the earth not just of sin, but of contamination, not just a wiping of flesh, but a wiping of history, of records, of legacy? And yet, even now, fragments remain. Scattered across the world are clues that refuse to die, megalithic structures that baffle modern engineers, stones too large to move with ancient tools, aligned with celestial precision, burial sites and cave systems, like those in Malta, in the Green Hills of Ireland, and the ancient grounds of the Americas, are said to hold bones of giants, tales of gods, whispers of fallen stars. And what about the Hopi, the Sumerians, the ancient cultures whose oral traditions speak of a time before our time, of sky beings, of watchers, of floods that were sent not to punish, but to hide? Even in Greek mythology, the parallels ring out like a bell in an empty temple. Zeus, father of the gods, sends a flood to destroy the Titans, offspring of gods and mortals, children too powerful, too wild, too far from the natural order, too similar to the Nephilim to be coincidence. So now, one terrifying question remains, one that cannot be silenced. What if it didn't work completely? What if the flood wiped out bodies but not knowledge? What if fragments of the Watcher's legacy still linger, in ruins, in bloodlines, in secrets buried just beneath the surface of what we call history? And more urgently, what if some of it is awakening again? But perhaps the most chilling remnants of the sons of God are not buried beneath ancient stones or locked away in forgotten tombs. Perhaps they're hiding in plain sight, in symbols we overlook, in rituals repeated across generations, in secretive societies whose origins vanish into the mists of history, from the Freemasons to the Rosicrucians, from ancient mystery schools to modern esoteric brotherhoods. The pattern is always the same, a hidden obsession with the ancient knowledge, not the knowledge of men, but the forbidden wisdom once handed down by those who were never meant to share it. Could it be that the knowledge of the Watchers, the sons of God, was never destroyed, only disguised, encoded into myth, veiled in allegory, embedded in sacred geometry and ritual language? What if the very purpose of these societies was not invention, but preservation, guardians of truths too dangerous to be spoken aloud? And what if those truths are stirring again? Look around. This is an age where digital light pulses through every hand, where secrets travel faster than thought, where we reach into the unseen with the swipe of a screen. Is it a coincidence, or is this the moment the veil begins to thin? Could it be that humanity is once again approaching a boundary, one the Watchers once crossed? Are we replaying the moment when knowledge outran wisdom? And now, the question that has echoed through every page we've turned, every mystery we've uncovered, returns to confront us once more, but now with deeper gravity. Was Adam truly the beginning, or merely the beginning again? And if so, what came before? And more hauntingly, what comes next? The sons of God, once radiant witnesses to divine creation, did more than observe. Some became guardians of secrets never meant for man. Others became agents of disruption, handing down truths that cracked the very foundation of heaven's order. And in their fall, the world was changed forever. But here's the unsettling truth. The flood, that great cleansing of the earth, didn't erase everything. Symbols remained etched into rock, passed down in rituals, whispered through generations. Their names, once forbidden, survived in shadowed mythologies and obscure texts. Some believe the Watchers were imprisoned. Others believe they never truly left. Now, pause and look at the world around you. We live in an age where stone tablets have become digital code, where sacred vibrations have become frequency and algorithm. What was once passed through fire and vision is now pulsing through the air, invisible, global, constant. Could it be that the ancient knowledge once sealed away is reawakening, not through temples and scrolls, but through circuits and screens? Could it be that the same power that once corrupted civilization is now repackaged as progress? And if so, then we are no longer just discovering ancient truth. We are stepping directly into its consequences, because knowledge never returns without impact. And once the forbidden is unlocked again, the world can no longer remain the same. So I ask you, not as a viewer, but as a participant in this unfolding mystery, do you believe the sons of God still watch us, even now? Could they be hidden among us, guiding, observing, waiting? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear what your spirit is saying. Type 777 if something inside you woke up during this journey, if an ancient memory stirred, if a new question was born, and if you felt the weight of these truths pressing deeper into your soul. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon, because what comes next may be even more shocking than what's been revealed so far. They tried to bury it, they tried to silence it, but the truth was never lost, only hidden. And now, for those who have eyes to see, it's being uncovered.